Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down for you how I create my signature animated photos. First things first, you need to know what software you need. You're going to need Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere. The good thing is many of you guys have those softwares already. So that means you're one step closer to bringing your images to life. The second thing that you need to have ready in preparation for this is you're going to need an image. You need to know what image it is that you want to work on. I would suggest for something like this, if you're just trying this out, is you want to pick an image that really has more of a simple subject. For this particular tutorial, I'm just going to be focusing on a photo that basically has a couple in front and an easy separation between a background layer, versus something that's going to be a little bit more advanced would be an image like this, where you can see that not only do we have the couple moving, but we have the background moving, and we also added all of these rose petals moving as well. So something like that's definitely going to be a little bit more advanced, but from practice, you'll definitely be able to work your way up there. So for the sake of today, we're going to start easy and we'll work our way up as tutorials progress. The third thing that you're going to need is you're going to want to kind of prepare to know what soundtrack you're going to want to use. Keep in mind that everybody has a different tone and style for the video. For me, I prefer soundtracks that are a little bit more dramatic, just because I feel like I'm kind of dramatic. And for me, that's just kind of my style. But for you, maybe depending on your style of photography, you'll pick music or soundtracks that'll match what it is that you do and what you kind of bring into your images. So you just want to kind of keep that in mind too. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing that we're going to want to do is we need to find our picture, Now, chances are, if you've been doing this for a while, once you get comfortable, you're going to have clients contacting you and asking you for specific photos. But in this case, we need to first decide what image it is that we want to do. So I want to kind of first start off by saying that when you're choosing an image for the sake of the test, I would recommend picking something that you know is going to be an easy cutout. In the sense of basically the animated photos, we're creating multiple layers. What we want to do is we want to create a subject layer, which would be your person, or your couple if you're doing, let's say, a wedding photo. And then the second image that you're going to want to do is that's going to be your background. What also can enhance an animated photo is going to be an additional movement. So in the example of this image of Kid Ink from his wedding, one of the things that made this photo interesting is the fact that we added another layer of rose petals. So it kind of looks like we're going through the rose petals. So those kinds of little things is what's going to help to make the animated photo kind of constantly go to the next level. But ultimately, an animated photo is basically taking a still image and creating multiple layers. So what we're going to want to do now for this particular edit is we want to pick an image that's going to be somewhat easy. Now, how can you tell if an image is easy? You can tell an image is easy based on how easy really the cutout is going to be. So now jumping onto my screen, one way that you can tell an image is easy is something like this. This particular image you can tell is going to be a very easy cutout, so moving it is not going to be a problem. Versus, let's just say something like this would be a lot harder because look at the veil that's also behind this background. When you think about moving something like this, you can tell already that it's going to be a lot harder. Something like this, I would put it like a medium, a medium rate, only because you do have the shadow here, so you're going to start seeing that difference. This photo you guys remember from our main video. You can see sometimes I'll do the same pose with different brides. Let's keep scrolling down here. Definitely a photo like this was a lot more work to animate because look at the cutout, look how many people. So this will also help you when it comes down to, that point of pricing it. We price it also based on how many people are in the image, because something like this photo, this would be a really easy animated shot just because of the fact that she's really already, this would pretty much right here be one layer and the background right here would be a second layer. So something like this would be very easy versus, let's just say, a photo like this could definitely be a little bit harder just because of the fact that they are smaller. But at the same time, this photo, what would be cool about it is actually animating these poles as well. So as you're zooming into the shot, we're moving these poles out. Let's see. So many photos, you know, when you scroll through your stuff, you realize how many pictures you've captured over the years. It's kind of actually interesting. I feel like I haven't went through my folder in a while. Let's head over to another gallery. Down, like this photo would be a really great shot to animate. This would be a really good like base sample because you can tell the cutout here is going to be really easy. So we'll start here. So we have our image. So we're gonna drag in this photo. And it's pretty much the first thing you're gonna wanna do is basically a solid cutout. Now for the sake of this tutorial, I actually really hate this pole. So I'm just gonna actually quickly take this pole out. Perfect, much better. Basically, the first thing that we want to do is we want to cut them out of the image. Now, in most cases, I usually will just start with the quick selection tool because I find sometimes you'll be surprised at how good of a job that it does. So I'll usually just start here. But you know what, overall, I need something that's definitely going to be a little bit better. I want to try the magnetic tool, this magnetic lasso tool. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start here and just really start going around his body. You know, when we first started doing these animated photos, I have to say, like, I would not claim myself to be like a Photoshop expert. I know how to get by though. And it's funny because I feel like a lot of people also like ask us for Photoshop tips, and sometimes I just kind of like figure it out. Like I would not say that I'm a pro, and a lot of you who maybe are more fluent in Photoshop are gonna be like, well, Suzanne, like there's a better way to cut out. And I'm sure there is, it's just this is like what works for me. So in any event, you're gonna find that. But basically from there, I just hit Control J, and what it's doing is it's basically separating the background for us. So now we have like this basically nice little cutout of them. So what we're gonna do is now we're gonna focus on just kind of cleaning up this foreground layer just to make it look a little bit better. We wanna bring back some spots that were taken out in the cutout. So what I'm gonna do is just use my history brush to basically brush over some of these parts and kind of bring back these areas. When you're creating the animated photo, you're basically moving the subject across the background, or you're zooming in or you're zooming out. Your foreground layer is moving in the opposite direction of your background layer. So what we're gonna wanna do is we wanna kind of like Photoshop more of this greenery to cover the spot of, let's say, the flowers, or cover up the spot maybe a little bit more right here. So this way, when we're moving across it, you don't see them actually behind the image. Sometimes I'll just use the stamp tool. Like I said, this one's a pretty easy one. So what we're doing is we're just gonna kind of like cover up this area here. Yeah, pretty much just like this. One other thing that you can do is that if you have like the original photo, like for me, this photo I took a long time ago, if you have your original photo like raw, if let's say you have like a test shot of that particular image, something like that is also really great, because then what you could do is you would be able to have like an actual background versus me. I don't have the original image anymore. So I kind of have to basically do this little Photoshop here. I really like the way this bush on this side is kind of disappearing. It's really blending in nicely. See, these little spots right here I would definitely just clean up, because having them all right there, you can kind of tell if you were looking closely that it's a little too fake. You can also, if you have the time, and if you have like a Shutterstock account, you can also download these bushes again and just mask the same color. You could do that too. And pretty much whatever you know is going to be like an easy fix, like for me, like that's pretty easy. You know, just fix it. You know, just clean the whole thing up. I want to point out just again, guys, I'm not a Photoshop expert, okay? But when you want something, like when you want to know how to do it, you just pretty much figure it out. in any event, what we're gonna do is we're gonna save the image like this. I know this looks crazy. And this is going to be our background. I'm gonna minimize it, and now it's time to open up Premiere. Now just again to keep everything organized, I'm gonna make a folder called project files, and this is basically where I'm gonna save my project file that I'm creating right now. Now I just wanna say too, if you guys are noticing a lag on my end, that's really just because I'm using not only my Premiere, but I have my Photoshop open, and I'm also doing like a full 4K like screen recording. So my computer is running just a little bit choppy. So if you notice that, that's why. But basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna call this animated photos. So let's save this on my desktop inside my project file folder, because again, I'm really big on like organization. We're gonna call this my tutorial, hit OK. And what we're gonna do now is we are going to import. So we're gonna import our foreground and also our background into Premiere, okay? So we have 2 layers here. And now what we need to do is we need to create a sequence. And I'm just gonna title this the couple's names. So really, as far as like what sequence you're using, it really depends on what you're going to be making. For most cases, a lot of you guys are going to be making like a 1080 or 4K video. So for the sake of the fact that I'm trying to render and I'm using so many programs, I'm gonna do this on a 10K sequence, on a 1080p sequence. So this way it moves a little bit faster. The other thing too is that this is a vertical image. So what I'm gonna do is just go up to my sequence settings, and I'm basically going to switch these numbers. So instead of creating a horizontal video, I'll be able to create a vertical video, which will be great for an Instagram post. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this one 1080 and this side 1920. When we hit enter, you're gonna see right now that it just went vertical, which is awesome. So pretty much your foreground is going to be on top, okay? Your background's gonna be behind. And what we're gonna do really quick, let's zoom into this a little bit more. You have to decide from now how long you want your video. In most cases for me, I like doing like a 10-second marker because I find that that's kind of like the sweet spot. I think anything longer will, after a certain period of time, it'll get a little boring and repetitive. So that's why I'm kind of going more with this route. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna right click and hit set to frame size. So this way it kind of fills our frame here. Okay, we definitely want to go in a little bit more. So let me actually just turn off this layer and let's see what this looks like zoomed in. Okay, so we're zoomed in here. I'm going to copy this motion style onto this background. Okay, so this looks really awesome. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start animating the pictures. So basically, like, animations are basically moving this foreground layer along with this background layer and moving them in different directions. So what you're gonna wanna do is in Premiere, you're gonna have what they call position and scale, these motion changes. This is basically, we're gonna be setting key points. So this way we're gonna tell Premiere how long we want something to move to the left or to the right or to zoom in or zoom out. So what I like to do first is I usually like to start off with my background layer and focus really on just like moving that so I can see what that looks like. So what I'm gonna do here is position is what moves it from left to right. So since this is a vertical image and I know we have space on the sides that wasn't able to be shown, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start from moving the background layer left to right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit position. We're just gonna set a key point. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit this little timer clock right here, and we're gonna move this, let's just say starting right there. Okay, and then we're gonna set an endpoint with it right here. Now, what I can tell you already is from looking at the image, it looks like we still have a lot of background layer that we need to fix first. So we'll probably have to bring this background back into Photoshop and move it as well. But just for the sake, let's actually just see really quick what this looks like. So I'm finding that this move right here is moving just a little bit too much, okay? So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna create my top layer again. Let's turn on this layer again. What we wanna do is we wanna make the couple a little bit bigger. Because if it's going to be on like a phone or something, like you don't necessarily want to like not see them. You wanna be able to see them. Okay, but because it's a bride, she probably wants to see her bouquet. So I would say we would probably want to keep their frame right here. Like we wouldn't want to lose much more than that. So what I'm going to do is let's kind of start them to the side here. And what we'll do is we'll not only zoom into the shot, but we'll also bring them forward. So let's basically set a point right now, a zoom in point. We don't want them to go in too much. Let's see what that looks like. And a lot of this, you guys, is really just kind of playing around with it. We don't really know what works until we do it. So you just have to be open-minded that, you know, you're gonna have to play around and see what kind of works for you. So we're gonna set these 2 points. Let's drag these over. Okay. And let's see what that looks like. That looks really good. That looks really good. That looks really good. Now, do you guys notice right here behind the groom's face, you're still seeing the groom? So this would be like a good example of where you would want to take that image and back to Photoshop and Photoshop out a little bit more of his face. So this way you don't see that. So what we're gonna do is we just open this back in Photoshop and we're basically just gonna kind of, you know, cut out a little bit more. Oh, wait, hold on. I want it to be softer. And that's what I was saying, is that the background doesn't have to be super perfect because you're not really going to see it. Chances are with your image, you're going to be hiding it as well. So like, even though this isn't totally perfect right here, you might not even notice it. So let's see. So we're just gonna save this again on background, save it as a JPEG, let it right over it, because when it does, it's going to adjust it in here. There we go, perfect, it adjusted. It just took a second to load. Like I said, guys, I'm working with a lot of different things right now. So in any event, let's watch this. Oh wait, there's like a little, perfect. Look at that, that looks awesome. So what we're gonna do now is we are going to add our sun flare into the project. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our sun image. Now overall, like the image that you're using for the sun, you really want it to match what you have already, because if you use something different, it might look a little off. So for example, like this circle sun kind of matches the circle sun that we have in the original photo, so that's what we're gonna be using an image like this. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over to the blend mode and change the opacity of it, so this way, you know, you're able to see it. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of like make this overall smaller. Now, in some cases, you guys might notice you might get this little box around it on your sun flare image. So I'm gonna show you guys how to take that out. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna wanna put the sun like right around there. And let's also kind of feather out this area here. So I'm gonna actually just go over, before I take a photo like this into Photoshop, I just wanna see if I can just feather it out with our crop tool. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually kind of bring it up. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna kind of edge out. You see? So it basically took out all of that edge problem that we were having. And now we don't even have to. See, and just really from like playing around with things is how you'll be able to do stuff like that. So what we're gonna do now is let's animate this sun flare. So what we're gonna do is, let's drop down our motion. You know the drill, you need to create your moving points. And we want the sun to obviously go this way as the image is moving. So we're gonna go like that. And basically you just wanna kind of play it back and see how it looks and just make adjustments as you go. You see, so we're getting some nice sun movement there. And that looks really good. Now it's really up to you. You can add more or less sun flare. You might not even notice part of it. So it's kind of up for debate if you even want to keep it in. For me, I feel like it kind of helps to make the image look real. So I'm going to opt to keep it in. But you can see kind of on this particular photo, since the sun really does have to stay in that upper right-hand corner, you're not going to notice it moving as much. So you can kind of choose with or without. So I think in something like this would be a great poll video. What do you guys think? Would you keep the sun flare in it or would you take it out? Which version do you prefer? Perfect. So pretty much the last thing that we need to do to kind of bring this animated photo to life is going to be adding music. Now, like I said, the music that you choose is really going to be up to your style of photography. For me, I prefer more like cinematic soundtracks, so I'm actually picking something very similar to that. I actually downloaded something a little earlier today, and I'll just basically pick one of these and add it into the video. That part is what I like when it gets right there. So we're gonna actually just drag this in. Because remember, usually these animated photos are only like a few seconds. I think it happens right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut that. And so it's actually kind of nice because this particular track actually has this buildup right here. So it's actually going to be really, really good. Let's see. That looks great. And something like this is where you would continue to go in. So like I would basically end it right here. So if let's say you were doing a slideshow for this couple, this right here would be perfect because you already have like your mark in point with the way the soundtrack comes in, and you have a mark out point the way the soundtrack comes out. So these are the kinds of soundtracks that you're gonna wanna look for. As far as like tips for how to find the perfect soundtrack, again, number one, you have to find something that is your style. And number two, you really just have to spend the time looking for it. For me, I use different sites. I'll look on YouTube to see what free music that they have there. A lot of channels on YouTube offer royalty-free music that you can use. You can also go on sites like Shutterstock, or like I've particularly found this track on a site called Motion Array. And you know, you pretty much just have to find the track that works best for your edit. But in this case, since we aren't doing a full video, we're not going to use this, but if I was, I would definitely use it. And I'm going to actually post this later to kind of promote the video. So I'm going to actually do some text here. So now this is actually becoming like a little promo for me, that I'm gonna use this clip to actually promote the video. So I'm just gonna actually change. And pretty much, guys, this video is done. And now what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna actually add just some like dust particles to the beginning of my video. I'm not 100% sure which one I wanna use, so I'm gonna just import both. Let's see what this one looks like. Okay, that could work. This one looks like a winter storm. I like it. Dramatic. Oh, wait. Okay, so what we're gonna do is let's scale this up. We're gonna add a little power effect to the beginning of this. And these are really just like little cleanups that you guys can do. And we're gonna start that right there. And this looks really good. So we're gonna actually wanna cut this here. And this is pretty much how you create an animated photo. So you can tell from today's tutorial with animated photos, it's something that really is actually pretty easy. I think what you're gonna see over time from doing more as your images get harder, it's really going to get harder based on the background or based on how many people you have to cut out of your photo. So you'll see that just from doing and practicing is how you'll be able to get better at this. So of course, if you have any questions, definitely leave a comment below. And I'm looking forward to definitely uploading more videos like these, because I do think that for me, sharing my tips and some of my secrets with you, you guys will be able to go out and share it with your clients as well. So definitely let us know if you have any questions, and we look forward to seeing you on our next video.